Dean Curry here, Fantasy Football RSVP. So let's get right to it with week 2 of the NFL season. I think it would be wise to consider picking up Ryan Tannehill. I think he's going to have a really big year. They have a very good offense. The receivers at Brown, they have some receivers. Have a nice tight end, Corey Davis. I just think the offense, I just think they're going to be a good team this year. Their defense is going to give them lots of opportunities on the offensive side. And Tannehill, I wasn't really, the strongest supporter of Tannehill before, but, he's put in the work, he's put in the time. He's really matured as a quarterback. That doesn't always happen, but he's really matured as a quarterback, and the guy's been looking solid. He didn't look perfect on Monday night, but it's the first game of the season. A lot of quarterbacks, it's going to take a while to get rolling. I think they're a good team. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's a good, solid guy. He may not get you 35, 40 points, but this guy's going to get you, he's not going to put up 10s and 15s. He's going to give you 20, 25 points almost every week. It's very, very high floor is what we say. The next one I say with a little speculation. I was following the Detroit game against Chicago, the Lions, and that game was pretty much over. And then I tuned back into it, and the Bears pulled off some miraculous comeback in it. And during that time, Mitchell Trubisky was phenomenal. He was just a different kind of player, and maybe he's put in the time, but what struck me is that he did it way down by 21 or more points, and he did it in the clutch in the fourth quarter, and that's not something I always see from Mitch, but give the guy a little breathing room because he's a young quarterback, he's maturing. And what strikes me about Mitchell Trubisky, and I really put him on the top of a fantasy list, is that he runs the ball an awful lot, and he'll put up 50 to 75 yards, and they have talented receivers on that team, and backs that can catch out of the backfield, so. And he likes to dump it off to those running backs. So, he's going up against the Giants defense. I'm not saying he's a must start every week, but week 2, I really like him against the Giants. Their defense is also pretty good. They're going to present a lot of opportunities. But I like Mitchell Trubisky this week. As far as running backs, if Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. I know people are talking about Nyheim Hines, but the coach has pretty much, expressed that Jonathan Taylor is going to be the running back, and that they want to keep Nyheim Hines in his, his natural element, which is more of a third down catching back, and they don't want to change his role. So, Taylor's, caught a few passes this past week. They were talking about, in college, how good of a pass catcher is, but, in the offense that was run in college, you got to be careful about guys that don't catch the ball a lot because, that wasn't the type of offense that they ran in college. But, he caught, 4 or 5 passes, I think 5 passes this weekend, and, he looked really, really good. He's going to be the bell cow, and they have a good offensive line. So, if a guy can run or do a decent job, the Colts have one of the better offensive lines for running, which was case in point last year. And it's a big part of what they do, and the coach even said we got to get back to the running game. So, I really like Jonathan Taylor. I also like Malcolm Brown. They're talking about Cam Akers being the guy. He might be at some point. But, and this is what I tell people. I know we all work and we have, and that's why I do this show, because not everyone could watch the games. And I always tell people, you got to watch the games. And if you don't watch the games, I put them on tape delay. I make sure, that I get that game and I watch, and if you can't watch the games, at least watch the highlights, because Malcolm Brown was clearly the better back. and it's no, on Sunday. It's nothing against Cam Akers. They say he's a star on the rise. But there's sort of a learning curve with rookies sometimes. And Malcolm Brown he's going to get the goal line carries. He's going to get the short yardage carries. I mean, he's a big back, and you could see him moving the pile. And Cam was kind of shaking and baking and doing his thing. But, I don't know. It's an eye test. That's why you have to watch the games. Watching Malcolm Brown, Cam Akers is a great talent, but watching Malcolm Brown, he looked like the better back. And I think it's not necessarily a start, Malcolm Brown every week, but it's certainly, a stash on your bench, and, see if he continues to be the man, because, their coach was talking about, it being a run by committee this year, but he's never done it that way. So I'm not so sure that will be the case. He, used to go with Gurley like all the time. He likes to play the hot hand. So he's saying that Malcolm Brown, he just looked like he looks in terrific shape. I think he's going to do really well. As far as wide receivers, I have an interesting one. And it's on the New York Jets. I'm a New Yorker, Jet fan too. But Mims, their star that they got in the draft, is on IR. So he's going to be out 3 weeks at least. Le'Veon Bell, which is a huge target out of the backfield, is on IR, injured reserve. He's going to be out at least 3 weeks. Now, the injured reserve, the way it works now, you have to sit out 3 weeks, but these guys might be out 4 or 5 weeks or more. We talk a lot about, injuries here, being a rehabilitation specialist, personal trainer, 25, 30 years now. I've rebuilt a lot of shoulders, hips, so on and so forth. Also a licensed massage therapist. Hamstrings, those are tricky, and he pulled it pretty good. Those are tricky injuries. Those could stay with you for weeks and weeks and weeks. And the hard part is you really can't train when you have a hamstring injury. So even if the hamstring is healed in a few weeks, he has to then get back into game shape, which could take an additional 2 weeks. And they have to test it and try it. And, he's sort of getting up there in age, Le'Veon. And, these things don't heal, and they want him healthy. So, he may not play for a while. And I just think that what I'm leaning up to is I think Jamison Crowder, wide receiver for the Jets, is a great play. He got a ton of targets last week, and he's going to get a ton more. And the Jets, you have to understand, what I talk about on this show, what I don't hear talked about on a lot of other shows, and don't get me wrong, I watch a lot of other shows, and I'm glad they're out there because they always say something that gives you perspective, and I'm a big supporter and fan of all shows out there. But one thing I don't hear a lot about is game scripts. You hear it mentioned on 1 or 2 stations, they talk about players, but game scripts. You got to understand, Jets are not a good football team right now. And I could say that because I'm a Jet fan, okay? They're not a good football team right now. And, I'm not so sure, Darnold didn't look good during the game. The coaching wasn't much better. It's a first game, though. I don't want to, beat anyone up too bad. But Darnold looks like he was very inaccurate. He was missing guys. It's the first game. I get it. No training camp. It's a rhythm thing. A lot of guys looked. But they're going to be playing behind. They're not a good football team. Their defense isn't very good either. And they're going to be playing behind in a lot of games, which means they're going to be airing the ball out a lot. And I know people don't like to play. People like, I have to rely on Darnold throwing the ball. The guy can throw the ball. And he seems to like to throw it to Jamison Crowder. So that game script, is going to get a lot of opportunities to throw the ball. The same could be said about the Giant receivers. Slayton is another great pick. He looked really good, and I just think the Giants are going to be playing from behind a lot. And Slayton looked good. Golden Tate's a little banged up. Shepard, they do have some good receivers, but their offensive line wasn't producing any running lanes. Barkley was getting, creamed 5 yards, behind the line of scrimmage. He looked much better in the passing game, but that's also a really nice play as well. and you might want to pick up Robbie Anderson. I thought or even better yet, I like John Brown. I thought the Bills looked really good. John Brown was a pretty reliable receiver last year. You could pick up him. You could pick up Robbie Anderson. Robbie is a kind of a streaky guy at wide receiver, but John Brown, I think, has a high ceiling. I mean, a high floor. I think he's going to get you anywhere from 5 to 10 catches a game. He's going to get you anywhere from 70 to 100 yards. The Buffalo offense looked pretty good. I know it was against the Jets, but I kind of like John Brown. He was really reliable last year, and so those are really my two is John Brown and Jamison Crowder. As far as tight ends, I like this guy, Logan Thomas. I've been doing a lot of research on him. You could also go, with Noah Fant. He looked pretty good for Denver. And he was pretty good last year. They like to use their tight end there. So you can go with Noah Fant. You could also go with Logan Thomas. I thought Logan, I just think, again, game scripts. You have to think this way in fantasy football. It's how you win championships. And I think the game script, Washington's going to be behind a lot, in their games. And this guy's very athletic. He had a phenomenal training camp. You got to follow training camp. You could even look up training camp stars, training camp standouts. Logan Thomas was in the news almost every day. And they were talking about this athleticism, his ability to catch the ball in the red zone, which was happening in training camp. He's a hard guy, an extremely athletic guy, good speed. And you could see you got to watch the games, they kept trying to target him, So I think he's going to be doing really well. You might want to keep an eye on Jonnu Smith of the Titans as well. He didn't have a great game last game, but they intend to use him quite a bit. As far as defense, I got to go with the Steelers if they're available against the Broncos. Obviously, I'm not picking the Ravens defense or defenses that I think are already taken. The Steelers might actually be taken, but there's a chance they might not be on a few boards. But I think they have an underrated defense. A lot of people picking the 49ers defense, the Ravens defense, the Titans defense, all these other defenses. But I think if the Steelers are available, I'd like them matched up against the Broncos. I mean, Giants came out pretty strong against the Steelers, and I think the Giants going to be a little better than people think. Not playoff, but I like a lot of things I saw, and the Steelers' defense just looked incredible, especially on the line. They looked absolutely incredible, and I think they'd be a good play. As far as kickers are concerned, I really like Younghoe Koo of the Falcons. Again, Falcons, a team with a great offense, not such a great defense. They're going to be behind in a lot of games like they were to Seattle. And I just think there's going to be a lot of opportunities. They're playing Dallas. Dallas is pretty good in the red zone defense. Could be a lot of field goals, but I just think that game could potentially be a shootout. I think that a high-scoring game rather. And I think Koo is going to get a lot of opportunities. He was really good in the AAF. He was really good at the end of last year. Missed, a field goal, extra point. But he's shown some real consistency, and I've seen this guy kick. So that's pretty much it. I'm Dean Curry, live here, Fantasy Football RSVP. You can become a member and get one-on-one advice from me for $7.77. You just go to our website, fantasyfootballrsvp.com, and you sign up, and you get a lot of other benefits. You could send me your lineup each week. I'll look at your lineup and pick out a winner. You get 7 minutes with me on, we'll go over your lineup very quickly. It's more like 10 minutes, but I say 7 minutes. And we pretty much will talk about, we could Skype back and forth or do a Zoom session and talk about your live and talk about your team and who to play and who to trade for. That's one of my specialties, is designing trades. I just do it in a way that my trade rate is very, very high. very, very, very high. I just have a knack for it. So, and you get a lot of other benefits. You get a chat room on Facebook, private chat room. You get to talk to other people, and it's really, really great. So I want to thank everyone. Welcome back, NFL. We'll be here every week. We're on 10 radio stations right now, including iTunes, Apple Music, Google Play Music, Stitcher Radio, iHeartRadio. We're out there on the Stratosphere and on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe. That's complimentary at Rising at Fantasy Football RSVP.com. So welcome back, NFL. We're gonna have a great season. So have yourself a wonderful day.